The movie begins with a guy named Dodge next to his wife named Linda, listening to the news on the radio about a meteor that will collide with Earth in the next 3 weeks. After hearing the news, she abandons Dodge and runs away. He decides to continue with his life, going to work and ignoring what is happening. Suddenly, in the middle of negotiating an insurance policy against apocalyptic disasters, he can't handle hearing it anymore and ends up vomiting. However, just like Dodge, his colleagues at the company continue going to work and try to act naturally so as not to go crazy with the news of the end of the world. On his way home, Dodge encounters his neighbor fleeing from her boyfriend. When he enters his house, he finds his housekeeper Elsa working as usual. He then tells her that she should stop working. After Elsa leaves, Dodge takes a syrup that Linda used to help her sleep. At nightfall, he finds a spider in the bathroom sink but lets it live. However, while he is sleeping, the spider crawls across his face. The next day, he goes to visit a friend, but suddenly a man falls on top of his car. When he arrives at his friend Diane's house, she tries to convince him to be with a woman who will be at the party that is about to happen. At that moment, her husband Warren appears and invites Dodge to smoke a very expensive cigar. Later at the party, Dodge pays no attention to the woman Diane mentioned. During dinner, some people start talking about their plans before the meteor collides with Earth. Minutes later, they begin using substances, and one of the guys keeps bothering Dodge to make him enjoy everything at the party. This makes Dodge hide, and then he goes to the bathroom. But Diane finds him, and after he opens up to her, she kisses him. However, he refuses because she is his friend's wife, but she says that no one belongs to anyone. So, he decides to go back home. When he arrives home, Dodge takes a box with some things and admires a photo of him with his wife. He also takes a harmonica to play. Then his neighbor Penny appears at the window, crying. He decides to comfort her, and she tells him that she is sad because she ran away from home to be with a guy who took advantage of her, and now she won't be able to see her parents because all flights to them have been canceled. After Penny calms down, she drinks Linda's syrup and asks about Dodge's wife, but he tries to change the subject. She then sleeps for many hours and doesn't wake up even when he makes noise and tries to wake her. After waking up, Penny decides to go back home and hands over the mail that the postman mistakenly delivered to her for 3 years. She reveals that she read some of the letters and used to see Dodge's wife going out with another man, which makes him furious. He goes to the store to buy a glass cleaner product and sits down to drink it. The next morning, he wakes up and finds a dog abandoned by its owner. Moments later, he decides to return home with the dog, which he names Sorry. In the middle of the journey, we see the chaos taking over the city. While reading a letter written by Linda, the news reports a riot happening in the streets. Then a brick crashes through Dodge's window, thrown by the vandals invading the area. Dodge becomes desperate, grabs the dog, and escapes through the fire exit. He heads to Penny's apartment and finds her ex-boyfriend there. The guy then makes a scene, thinking they are having an affair, and Dodge runs to wake Penny. The three of them run to find Penny's car, but even she doesn't know where she left it. On the way, a shootout begins, and the guy tries to use Penny's body as a shield. Dodge pulls Penny away and leaves the guy behind. When they are in the car, the guy gets out to help Penny maneuver, and inside, Dodge convinces Penny to leave the guy behind because he knows of a plane that could take her back to her parents' house. After the car runs out of gas, the two decide to walk. Along the way, Dodge argues with Penny for hiding the letters from his wife for years. Feeling guilty, Penny decides to help Dodge reunite with his wife. They are lucky to get a ride from a guy, but Dodge becomes suspicious because the guy has a shovel in the car and keeps talking about his life. They stop because the guy needs to pee. After Penny and Dodge argue, she gets out of the car with the dog. The guy returns and says he thought Dodge was going to kill him, as he had hired someone to do it, but Dodge wasn't that person. This revelation makes the guy feel relieved since he had changed his mind about it. But the hitman appears and ends up taking a precise shot. Then the two use the shovel to bury the guy and decide to keep the car, but the keys were with him, so they need to dig up the body again. Moments later, they find a diner on the road and, upon entering, are surprised by the warm reception from the people. Penny decides to take advantage of this by lying and claiming that it's Dodge's birthday to get better treatment. After drinking, they talk about Dodge's job, and he explains that he got into the insurance business because he didn't see any advantage in following his dreams. To lift the mood, they decide to give the birthday boy special treatment, including a kiss as a gift. However, the people at the diner start getting involved romantically, so the two leave. When they get to the car, Penny kisses Dodge, but afterward, Dodge starts feeling guilty about the age difference between them and worries that he is taking advantage of her. This puts a damper on their mood. Minutes later, a police car arrives, and Dodge becomes frantic, while Penny considers running away. When they stop, Penny tries to stall the officer to get them released, but it doesn't work, and they end up being arrested. In jail, Penny starts to blame herself for ruining their lives, but Dodge comforts her with a hug through the bars. Afterward, Dodge reveals that he was abandoned by his father after his mother died and also left by his wife, who left him after learning about the end of the world. He admits that he married her out of fear of being alone and also rejected a woman named Olivia, who ended up with someone else. After some time, a guard who is a friend of Dodge appears, releases them, and gives them a ride to the home of an old acquaintance of Penny named Speck, who has a lot of supplies and weapons in his house. He then lets Penny use the phone to call her parents. While she is talking to them, Speck intimidates Dodge, saying there's no place for him there. But Dodge doesn't care and leaves with Penny, who borrows a car. They go to Olivia's parents' house, who was Dodge's first love. Dodge can't get into the house, and Penny doesn't want to wait, so she decides to break the glass and open the door from the inside. Once inside, they discover there is a lot of food there, and Dodge shows a record player he found. During dinner, Penny talks about her past and her relationship with her parents, who were deeply in love with each other. She also shares her love for vinyl records and how she hoped to get home and listen to her father's record player. Penny then goes to the kitchen and finds a letter Olivia wrote to her parents in a drawer. She gives it to Dodge and encourages him to pursue Olivia since the letter contains her address. Later, Dodge can't sleep because he is too anxious to reunite with Olivia, while Penny is looking at his class yearbook and sees that he and Olivia were the most popular couple in school. The next day, they arrive at Olivia's house, but Dodge decides to leave only a farewell letter and returns to the car. Penny doesn't understand why he's doing this, and then Dodge starts arguing with her. The argument doesn't last long because he almost runs over a group of people heading to the beach. Upon arriving, they notice a wedding ceremony, and then Dodge and Penny kiss and spend the afternoon having fun together. When Dodge goes after the dog, Penny reads a message written on the instrument that reveals it was a gift from Dodge's father. The couple then starts interacting with people on the beach to feel part of a group. They then head to Dodge's father's house. Upon arriving, they are greeted by Frank, Dodge's father, who is surprised to see his son after such a long time apart. Penny then leaves them alone. Frank tries to explain himself, but Dodge tries to stop him. Frank then explains that he had always tried to communicate with his son, but Dodge's mother destroyed the letters he sent and also refused his calls. After this, he convinces Dodge to spend the day there with Penny. Since they made a beautiful couple, the three of them get along very well, sharing moments together as if they were a family. While Penny is asleep, Dodge picks her up and asks his father to take her back home, as all she wanted was to be with her parents again. After returning to his apartment with the dog, he finds Elsa still working despite the impending end of the world. Dodge tells her to leave once more, but Elsa doesn't understand, as she sees Dodge as a friend. This touches him, and he tells her to come back next week. Dodge then decides to watch the news, and the reporter says goodbye for the last time. Moments later, Dodge decides to go to Penny's apartment with the dog, and there he listens to Penny's records while waiting for the end. Suddenly, the lights go out, and he finds Penny in the living room. She runs and embraces him. Penny reveals that she woke up halfway and asked his father to turn back because she wanted to spend the last moments of her life with Dodge. When they are in bed, they start confessing their love for each other. While Penny is crying, Dodge is calm with the love of his life. She says they should have met earlier, but he replies that it had to be the way it was. They accept their fate, and the end of the world happens. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching.